Well, that was Dominic Waghorn. Well, our Middle East analyst, Arash Aramesh, joins me now live from Washington. Lovely to see you there, Arash. An isolated Israel outmaneuvered by Iran. Is that the general consensus?
Certainly not. Israel is not isolated. It's not outmaneuvered nor outflanked by Iran. Israel still remains to be America's greatest ally in the region. Without a doubt, there are obviously some differences between the Israeli government and the administration of President Barack Obama on the details of a nuclear deal that has been struck with Iran. Some of these issues perhaps go back to personal differences between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the President of the United States. Having said that, a lot of people may be unhappy with the deal. I myself have saved a lot of criticism for the deal. But again, as Thomas Paine, one of the founding fathers of the United States, said, a good deal is one in which that both sides are equally unhappy. That's a good compromise. So we got to see what happens. But again, I think John Kerry, the U.S. Secretary of State, and the President went into these meetings making sure that Israel's security is not jeopardized, nor is it at risk. At the same time, they had to make certain maneuvers and certain diplomatic sort of maneuvering to make sure that the secrecy of these both backdoor and back channel talks with Iran and also the public talks with Iran were being held in absolute secrecy and confidence in fear of any sort of public sabotage.
Arash, you just mentioned there your reservations about this deal. So from a Middle East perspective, what would those reservations be?
Well, this deal doesn't really change the identity of the regime that is ruling Iran. The Islamic Republic of Iran is still going to stay in power. Another reservation I have is the issue of human rights. This was only a nuclear deal. Does this mean that we're no longer going to put the same amount of pressure on Iran for its human rights record? What does it mean in terms of Iran's involvement in the region, in the Persian Gulf, in the Middle East in general? Is Iran now going to be a more responsible partner in our endeavors in the region, helping us fight radical Islamist jihadis? Or is Iran going to continue supporting radical Shiites for the sake of killing Salafis and also expanding its sphere of influence? These are all the questions we have. But my main problem is, did we just provide the Islamic regime in Tehran with a security guarantee for its survival? Or no, we still maintain the option of, hey, in case you don't live up to your end of the bargain, we're going to actually do other things in addition to sanctions. That's one thing. But again, most importantly, what's really close to my heart is the issue of human rights in Iran, and also that no option should be off the table. But again, having said all of that, perhaps this is the best deal that negotiators could have gotten at this late stage. Iran is 6 months to a year away from being able to have the capability of having the option of going weaponized. Israel was not just going to sit on its hands doing nothing. The Arab world was getting pretty pissed off about the Iranian, forgive me for saying that, they were getting pretty impatient with the Iranian government about that. So all these issues were going on. I think at this time, this was probably the best compromise the two sides could get.
Well, we understand your frustrations there, but Arash, Rome wasn't built in a day, one step at a time. Everybody's saying that. I mean, besides Israel, who's been doing a lot of political posturing in the last 24 hours, who else in the Middle East isn't happy?
Definitely the Arab countries of the Persian Gulf. Chief amongst them, Saudi Arabia is not happy. Saudi Arabia and Israel have been even though Saudi Arabia does not even recognize the existence of the Jewish state, they have sort of even lobbied behind the scenes for military strikes against Iran. Saudi Arabia is not happy. Other sheikdoms in the Persian Gulf, such as the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, are not happy. They very much fear Iran's expanding sphere of influence, and the fact that now the Iranian economy is going to be relieved from this burden of sanctions, now that they're going to see that the Iranian forces can operate with a freer hand in the region, they're very afraid. And these worries are not fears that just started 5 years ago. They go back to years and years and years of Persian versus Arab rivalries in the region. be Shiite versus Sunni tendencies in the region. And third, the fact that people live in the north and the south of the Persian Gulf always wanted to dominate it. Now look at what's happening in the region. Iran and Saudi Arabia have many proxy wars and proxy fights in the region, one in Syria, one in Bahrain, Shiites and Sunnis attacking each other in Pakistan. What happened in Afghanistan the last few years was another example. You see a lot of proxy wars, and the Saudis are very worried that the United States, their biggest ally and supporter, may no longer support them in the way they want. United States may actually go more towards Iran's direction and give Iran the role it had before 1979 as US's chief non-Israeli Middle Eastern ally in the region, and that is a great deal of concern to them. Again, we got to see how this work out. And let me add something really quickly.
Okay,
there have been a lot of deals have been struck in the past by foreign ministers. This road is long. This road is hard. This road could have a lot of obstacles. I'm very optimistic, but very, very cautiously optimistic. This doesn't mean that everything is rosy and peachy keen.
Okay, Arash, it's been wonderful speaking to you this morning. Thank you very much.